One of the most unusual starts in SmackDown history kicked off the broadcast on June 6 with the majority of the roster already in the ring when the show went on the air, followed by the individual entrances of the top names with Hunter, Jericho, Angle and Hogan coming out, followed by Vince McMahon to announce a 20-man battle royal for a title shot against Taker at the King of the Ring pay-per-view, with the unique big star power start along with one of the most proven drawing concepts on wrestling television with a battle royal match, seeing SmackDown opening way above the recent average with over 5.1 million viewers, including an almost unprecedented situation with the first quarter drawing the peak of the night in several major markets after seeing viewership spiking big throughout the first 15 minutes. With the match in addition to the strong opening audience setting the stage for the rest of the night with the top matches of Kurt Angle vs Hardcore Holly and the big headliner coming out of the finish with Hogan and Hunter as the last two in the match eliminated at the same time to see Vince booking Hogan vs Triple H for the #1 contender in the main event, with Hogan after being advertised to several Raw exclusive house shows in major venues while holding the undisputed title, is set to work them regardless, with JR confirming to fans who already bought tickets or look to attend the shows that Hogan will appear as scheduled despite being an exclusive SmackDown performer, giving the reason for him staying on the shows due to him already being promoted a month in advance as a way for the company to work around the split and add more star power to the big arena house shows in high-profile markets. With two major talking points around the tour, which is set for June 28 to 29, being that one of the shows is set to see Hogan making his return to Madison Square Garden for the first time in a decade, while the other being him teaming up with Steve Austin on the events in the first ever Hogan-Austin tag team match. After strong numbers for the first two episodes of Confidential built around two shoot cover stories on the Montreal '97 controversy and Davey Boy Smith's recent death to draw back-to-back 1.3 ratings at close to midnight on Saturday night, the third episode in 2 days is set to feature Rock's first interview on WWF TV since April, with the acknowledgement of him being all over television in the past 2 months except on the company's programs and the start of the build-up to his upcoming return, with him already advertised to headline 3 major events over the summer. First with the company's return to Hawaii in over a decade in less than 2 weeks, followed by 2 of the biggest events of the year in August with the 60,000 stadium show in Australia and the SummerSlam pay-per-view, with SmackDown after the stronger than usual start continuing to climb fast to see the broadcast in one of the only times in show history peaking already in the first hour, with the show jumping over 600,000 viewers between 8:30 to 9 p.m. 4 quarters, featuring the new Tough Enough winners introduced to Vince McMahon along with first season winner Nidia debuting along with Jamie Noble, followed by Val vs Christian in a King of the Ring qualifier and the second top match of the night with Kurt Angle vs Bob Holly going 7 minutes to cross over the top of the hour, with Angle going over in a strong match that is set to see them facing off again in 2 days as the headline match on Velocity, averaging a show high of over 5.7 million viewers. With Edge vs Chris Jericho in a King of the Ring qualifying match promoted since the start of the show. While noting Edge's shoulder issues, Edge came out to confirm the news and forfeit the match while acknowledging the injury suffered last Tuesday in another top pay-per-view performance in the cage match against Kurt Angle on the top rope spear for the finish, coming at the worst timing possible, with him finally getting the opportunity to be elevated into main event status, with Edge so far perhaps the biggest beneficiary from the brand split after a series of strong performances in the Kurt Angle feud, taking him just a step below the top of the card, confronted by Jericho to set him up as his next opponent back from injury, with Edge, who despite being unable to wrestle still went on the road to cut promos on the house shows he was set to work in matches against Jericho. getting positive news in the latest doctor evaluation on Wednesday, with the injury not as bad as first thought to see him potentially avoiding the shoulder surgery that would have taken him out of the ring for months to instead do 2 weeks of therapy with a possible recovery in a month, with SmackDown continuing the unusual viewing pattern on the night without the usual second-hour boost, maintaining 5.6 million viewers for the end of the Angle Holly match, followed by the Edge Jericho segment and the continuation of the Maven Hospital skits, making both hours due to the strong start and no significant growth past the first 30 minutes, having almost identical number of viewers in one of the only times in show history with a 5.4 to 5.5 million viewers margin. Following the same pattern of the previous week when the company countered the 20-minute Guerrero vs Van Dam ladder match on Raw with the 20-minute Kurt Angle vs Edge cage main event on the SmackDown taping a day later, after building Raw on the first-ever Austin vs Flair singles match in Austin's first match since the talked-about interview last Friday, with Vince McMahon's response heavily advertised for tomorrow in one of the most anticipated interviews in ByteDance history. The counter for the SmackDown brand was the promoted first Hogan vs Triple H match on broadcast television in their Backlash pay-per-view rematch, making their entrances at 9:45 p.m. to go 7 minutes in the final quarter, with the overall final half hour of the broadcast after taking a hit for the commercial-heavy segment in the last 15 minutes, rebounding over 700,000 viewers for the Hogan vs Hunter match to still see the 30 minutes between 9:30 to 10 p.m. averaging 5.4 million viewers to only the third most watched half hour of the night, in a rare situation for a SmackDown show which usually builds its viewership throughout to peak for the main event, with the match seeing Hogan doing a rare clean job on television with only a subtle out, with him thinking he won the match with the close pinfall for the leg drop before the finish, with Hunter getting his win back to set up the Taker vs Triple H pay-per-view title match for King of the Ring planned for the last 2 months since Backlash in April, with WWE TV overall after a combined 3-year viewership low for the Raw and SmackDown shows the previous week, rebounding over 900,000 viewers between June 3rd to 6th to see Raw on Monday night picking up to over 5.3 million viewers, while SmackDown on the night, despite an identical 3.3 rating, jumping from 5.2 to 5.5 million viewers.